related type of music. So while we're letting everybody join us, please go ahead and start your watch parties as we are live on Facebook and YouTube. And again, welcome to Gravity Talks. All right, give it a few more seconds. Let everybody get your watch parties going. Turn your volumes down, Pamela. All right. Come on in, guys. Come on in and join us for Monday night Gravity Talk.
Hey.
Okay. Awesome. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight for Gravity Talk. This is your mental health and sports part 2.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm your host, Vicki Yelverton.
And I'm your host, Natasha Lewis.
And so again, tonight we're doing something new for the month of July. We are hosting our new Gravity Talks on Monday nights at 7 p.m. And so our first panel that we have set up for you is Mental Health and Sports Part 2. We have an awesome night scheduled for you. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So again, I'm host Vicki Yelverton, and with me tonight I have, let's see, Antoine. Tell people who you are and what you do.
What's going on, everybody? This is Antoine Yelverton. I'm one of the proud owners of Yelverton's Enrichment Services.
All right. And what else? Yelverton Enrichment Services, and what else?
I'm also on a construction company, Yes Real Estate Construction Group. We're a limited GC license in North Carolina.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah.
All right. And T-Top, welcome back, sir. Hey. Tell the people who you are and what you do.
My name is Terrence Copper. I'm a retired NFL veteran, and I own a Premier Sports Academy located in Winterville, North Carolina.
Awesome. And again, welcome back, sir.
Thank you.
And Mr. Daryl Lanier, welcome back.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Daryl Lanier, Regional Program Director at Yelverton's Enrichment Services, and also the head basketball coach at Garner Road Basketball Club, where I coach the class of 2025.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Welcome back, Mr. Daryl. All right, over to you, Miss Lewis.
Definitely welcome back, guys. And we have a newcomer today, Mr. Antoine Yelverton. All right. We're going to see what you got. So today is going to be a very interesting day because I know we had an awesome discussion last time about mental health and sports. So today we're going to do a part 2 because I'm telling you, if you missed last time, this one's going to be even better. So it's still okay. But definitely we're going to start off. And so, guys, what we want to do is help people understand your connection to mental health. So we're going to start with the newcomer. Mr. Antoine, come on, tell us your connection. Other than we know you own a mental health company, but other than that, what's your connection to mental health?
That's what's up. Like I said, one of the proud owners of Yelverton's Enrichment. Everybody that knows me and knows Vicki, of course, we've been doing it for about 15 years now across the state of North Carolina. We have about 2,500 recipients and families across the state. But also, a lot of people don't know, I actually have personal ties to mental health as well. Some of my family members have mental health diagnoses.
With the connection with having a business, did that have any impact on your decision to start a business in mental health, having family members?
Ironic enough, it did. When me and Vicki started actually dating, that was one of our first conversations as far as the mental health climate in North Carolina, her personal ties and my personal ties, and actually what we would do different if we own our actual mental health company. So I remember like it was yesterday. It was very humble beginnings for us, and we're at where we are now. So it's a blessing.
Okay, wonderful. That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. Mr. Darrell, what's your connection to mental health?
My connection to mental health, I like to think it's my life's work. As I mentioned on part one, I've been in it all my life. I've been around it by way of my aunt having her own mental health company and adult group home and Medicaid transportation service, as well as, family members and friends that I was, nearby, suffering from mental health. And then just some of my own issues with, losing close friends during my childhood, probably impacted me in a way that, had me down and sad at times, where I think my mental health was impacted by that as well, going through some losses there in my teenage years.
So do you think that what you experienced in your teenage years, do you think that kind of impacted you to want to actually work in the field?
Yeah, it definitely made me want to work with kids and help young people be able to navigate feelings and going through, losses that they may experience, with to violence in the streets for young people, which is my issue. And then also, the losing of loved ones and other losses you go through as a child when you're growing up.
Awesome. We getting ready to go deeper, guys, but I got to get everybody's connection first. So I'm Mr. T Cop. How are you, sir? So good to see you again.
Good to see you as well.
Yes. So would you share with us just your connections and what you have your connections with mental health?
Just honestly, just everything. My entire life, really. One thing that I realized when it comes to the youth and also as becoming an adult, that it's the mental part of things that you got to be able to overcome. Of course, mental health things. Even when I was growing up younger, when I look back on things, different situations that I've been through or my family members been through, we really didn't talk a lot about the mental health issues back then when I was younger. But as I got older and I started looking back on things, you can kind of see why the mental health really played a big part in a lot of decisions that I've made in life, a lot of decisions sometimes my parents or my friends made in life. So mental health is just all around me. It's been all around me all my life. It just depends on what aspect it was.
So do you find now that, you recognize the differences in the availability of mental health now? Are you trying to incorporate that now in the things that you do and even with your own children? Or
Definitely. That's a huge part. Like I was saying earlier, the mental part is what we got to grasp as kids and adults. That is the biggest hurdle for a lot of people when it comes to achieving certain things, or if they're really going through something in their life. It's the mental part of it, not so much the physical, but it's the mental. And if you can understand and get help if you have issues mentally, or understand how to get through things mentally yourself, it'll take you a long ways.
I definitely agree with it. I know that sometimes if my mind isn't right, I can't function. I can't be me. It's like, and people can tell. They're like, "You okay today? Everything all right?" So I definitely, I agree 100%. I definitely do.
So, I was just gonna say, so like with the connection with mental health, and like T-Cop mentioned, it's pretty much everywhere. That's the undertone, the underthread of all aspects of life. And that's why, of course, sometimes people are like, when they see the title, they're like, mental health and sports, interesting. But as you all, Mr. Darrell and T-Cop, y'all were on the last panel, you saw we were able to kind of talk about some heavy things. Right. In fact, we probably needed more time. And that's why we said we definitely got to do a part 2. And then now Mr. Yelverton is joining us for this panel. It's like we get to really dive in and really talk about the undertones of mental health, and especially having males on the panel, being transparent and sharing. I think that's what the community wants to hear and wants to really get the real from you guys. So I appreciate y'all. I thank y'all in advance for sharing, because I know we about to dive deep. So crossing over, like as far as y'all explain the mental health connection that you personally have, what do you think that athletes, or how are athletes impacted by mental health? So like, Antoine, as far as just everyday athletes, what is it that they have to build up to every day that they go out day in and day out to play?
I think the older that you get and the more you play and progress through your athletic career, it becomes more mental more than anything. I just speak from my experience. I know obviously playing sports since I was maybe 5 years old. I think the older I progressed, the more of it came from mental aspect, like going through high school and obviously up to college and playing football at East Carolina. It was more so a mental preparation more than anything. You know, we'll practice so many times, 3 a days, 2 a days, every season of the year, but mental capacity got more and more intensive for me as an athlete. And I know T-Cop can speak to it going to a professional level. I think it's more of a mindset more than anything the older that you get.
Gotcha. Okay. So, as we cross over, with the mental aspect of being that athlete and being able to kind of put your personal things to the side and still be able to perform, you said it's a mentality thing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I just remember some of the bigger games that we played in at a collegiate level, like against Miami, other top tier teams. I mean, it was so much pressure to perform. I just remember it being more so just the level of mentality that you have to have. And, a lot of that stuff now obviously trickles into what I do now as a business professional is, you just got to compete. You got to set your mind apart from everything else and just focus and do what you do. And that's what separates you to be great in life, in my opinion.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Good nuggets. So T-Cop, last segment, you shared some intimate information about, what you went through in your career as an NFL player. Do you mind kind of getting us caught up on that? And then again, how did that impact you as a player?
So if I can kind of shorten it up a little bit, and not be too long-winded with it. So we talked about last time about, my best friend on the team, a teammate of mine of 3 years. He ended up committing suicide, but he killed his girlfriend before he committed suicide, and he did it right in front of the coaches. And we had a game to play. That was on a Friday. We had a game to play that was Saturday morning. And our game we had to play was on Sunday. It was a home game versus Carolina. And so everybody was debating about, are we going to play this game or we really just going to sit this thing out and mourn? But as athletes, the best thing for an athlete to do is to do what you love doing, to get over these things. And that's one thing that helped us get over the team, the locker room, the saunas, the cold tubs. That's how we kind of vented to each other during those trying times. And I also mentioned that my wife, her best friend was the one that actually was killed. So when I went home, it wasn't just me venting to my wife. She felt a certain type of way because, like I was saying earlier, I had lost a best friend, a teammate of mine that I've been around for every day for 8 months out of the year. You can be around this person. So when I go home, and of course I understood that, he did something very selfish and he definitely shouldn't have done it. But my wife wasn't trying to hear it because on the other end of it, that was her best friend that got killed. So it was just a tough time, not just on the field, but again, in my household as well. So mental health is huge. And like Killer said, that is a big part of overcoming things, the mental part. And for me, that was huge to get over it, and not just myself, but a team collectively, because everybody was close to Javon. It wasn't just me.
Wow. And T-Cop, did you all seek treatment after that? Did you have to go get some counseling after that?
Could you repeat it?
No, I'm sorry. I was saying, did you all have to seek treatment after that? Did you get counseling for that loss?
I can't hear anything.
Okay. Let's see. Natasha, you got to put your prayer on this social media. Put your prayer on this connection.
All right, real quick, y'all. We're going to rebuke this spirit right now. Amen. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Can you hear me now, T-Cop?
Oh, Jesus.
I can't
That's
hear.
all right. Okay. I'm gonna send him a text. All right. So we're gonna inquiring minds want to know, did T Cop and his wife seek treatment or seek therapy after they experienced that loss? So cross it over to you, Mr. Darrell.
Um,
So
just as T-Cop and I, we were talking before we came on live. Just in athletes talking about performance anxiety, the expectation to perform at your highest level. You got in my world in community sports, you got kids that are worried about what their dad thinks, right? What their mom thinks, what their friends think, and even for me as a former player, just having that nervous energy and being right before you're ready to play. I thought about it as if everybody's seen the movie with Willie Beeman, what was that, Any Given Sunday, and
Yeah.
before every game, Willie Beeman would like throw up. He had to go throw up before he could go out on the field and play. And if you're not in that mental health realm or really understand what's going on, but that was anxiety for him. That was anxiety for him where he had to throw up before he could play, and then after he threw up, it was all good. But that was like a level of performance anxiety for him. And I think a lot of athletes they deal with that. It's a real thing. Nerves are a real thing. In the basketball world, sometimes why guys shoot less than 50% at the free throw line because it's anxiety. You're nervous. It's the pressure to perform. It's the pressure to hit the big shot. And so that's why when I was in college and other friends of mine, we talk about how coach brought in sports psychologists and other kind of different kind of aspects of mental health to help people with their mental preparedness for the game. So it's definitely something that's very, very impactful in the game as far as your mental health or your mental psyche.
well, thank you, Mr. Darrell, for sharing that, because you're right. Anxiety, which a lot of athletes, I think, may experience anxiety, not just in the sports world, but just in life, and then it carries over to the sports. And a lot of times it goes untalked about. They're not probably going to share with their peers because of the stigma associated with, having anxiety or having some type of mental health concerns. So, we definitely want to destigmatize, and that's the purpose of Gravity Talks. And as men like yourselves, understand what it is, and, perhaps build that wraparound support for your fellow athletes,
Yes, ma'am.
I also think that, too, Vicky, I think that, one of the key things that I've been hearing almost everybody say is how the competitiveness, it really has an effect on your mental. And, I played many years ago, not a lot, but I remember it got so bad. I would cry if we lost. I was mad, ready to fight my own teammates, and to the point where they had to take me out the team. Like, okay, so I have an issue with competitiveness anyway. I can't even play fade no more.
Who you fight?
And so I'm curious to see, how does that work, and where's the most pressure come from? Like for you, T-Cop, when you were playing, where did the most amount of pressure, where was it coming from? Was it coming from fulfilling the expectations for the team, for your family, for your future? Where did that come from?
It depends on what level I was at. When I was in high school, of course, you wanted to perform well for your teammates. When I got to college, it was both again. You wanted to perform well for your teammates, but it also knew that you need to perform well for the coaches to see as well to get on the field. But once I got into the league, like the pressure of just staying on the team, because I used to get dog cussed every single day my first 2 years in the league.
Wait, what's a dog cut?
What's a dog cut?
A dog cuss. You ever been dog cussed? Well, hopefully you have.
Oh, cussed out.
Getting cussed out. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Continue.
So I used to get cussed out every single day, every practice, because I came in under Bill Parcells. Everybody knows he's a tough coach, but it wasn't Coach Parcells per se. It was the assistant coaches, and every single day I come to practice, it was the same thing. I'm talking about cussed out, calling you stuff that if you in the streets, you ready to fight, and it was just to the point to where I was getting dog cussed so much that we used to have family day during training camp. I couldn't even invite my family up to come to training camp because they didn't need to hear me getting cussed out the way I was every single day. But one thing about it is the coaching staff, they got a lot of respect for me because of the fact how I handled everything. They always say, listen, we own you so much because we want you to be ready for the game time situation. And when the game comes, you got to be ready to step up to pressure. You got to be able to handle pressure. And if you can handle us on this football field, on you consistently, fussing you out, correcting you, hard corrections, you'll be able to handle the things in the game. And one thing that did for me, it made me so mentally tough to the point that once I got home after the season was over with, I had to kind of decompress a little bit, because when things was going on at the house, and let's say something went on that maybe my son or my wife couldn't get to, it was more of, nah, we got to get it done. There is no excuses. But it came from how I was being taught in the football season, during football season too. I had to really understand that, listen, this is not the football field. I gotta kind of back away. This is my family, and not be so hard on them the way I was getting hard on. So it was just a lot of things mentally that you have to deal with. Even when you're getting released from a team, that is the biggest thing. As soon as you get released, you get depressed right then. You start getting depressed, especially if you don't have another team you're going to go to. And, your future's up in the air. This is your dream job. You got to take care of your family. You got to take care of your kids. You got to provide for your family. And all of a sudden, you get released from a team. As soon as you get released from the team, as soon as you walk out of that coach's meeting room, you in your head like, okay, what am I going to do? What's next? Because you're never prepared to get released. It's
Wow.
not like you're sitting there playing a season like, oh, if I get released today, I know I'm going to do this. You're never thinking about that, but you understand it's a possibility of getting released, but you just don't think about those things when you're in it. You focus on making the team, but once you get released, you're like, okay, what's next? What's next? Like, what am I going to do? Am I going to get picked up by another team? Do I got to go home? Do I got to get a 9-to-5? It all depends on how long. So your future is never certainty when you play in the NFL. There's no job security at all. They're always looking to replace you. So mentally, that wears on you a lot.
And Natasha, I was going to add real quick. So is it similar to, like, what is it? Hard Knocks? Like what is it?
Hard Knocks.
Hard Knocks.
You know what?
So every day you go in, you could be cut.
You could be cut, and that's one reason why I really don't like Hard Knocks. I mean, sorry if anybody like it, but I can't stand Hard Knocks because I feel like certain things shouldn't be televised for the public to see.
Yeah, those are private
because
moments.
When you get guys going into that coach's office and they getting cut, their dreams are getting cut.
Wow.
So
Yep.
I feel like certain things the public shouldn't be able to see because these guys are really, their dreams are getting cut short. And mentally, it's weighing on them, regardless of what the TV is showing. Because I've been in their shoes before, So I don't like really seeing those things on TV. I rather for it to stay behind closed doors.
Wow.
So in all essence, when does football stop being fun? Like after high school, it's not fun anymore because that doesn't sound none of the NFL sounds like it's exciting. I'm sorry. I see them happy when they win the Super Bowl, but other than that, what you just said, you're scared every day, or you're worried about the job. I mean, really, honestly, everybody should be taking pills. But not only that, but the coaches, they're the ones that look like they're upset. The coaches, I mean, they're yelling and screaming all over the field, but you guys are really catching it.
You know what though? But if you look at it, the coaches have the same mental things they're going through as well. Because if we're not performing, they're gonna get fired.
Yeah.
So their job, their livelihood relies on how well they teach us and how well we perform. Nothing they do besides teaching us really controls the outcome. They can't get out there and play. So they gotta play through us. And we gotta make sure we understand the game plan. So their hands are tied as well, or is full. I wouldn't say tied, is full as well when it comes to the mental part of it, because they understand that, listen, if we don't have these guys prepared, if they don't understand what they're doing, if they don't go out and perform, that's our job on the line. And that's why it's so cutthroat in the NFL, because it's a lot of money involved. And if you're not getting the job done, if you go out there and stringing together 2 or 3 bad practices in a row, they cutting you, getting you out of there and bringing somebody else in to see if he's better. You know, so it's a cutthroat business, but I love the NFL. I wouldn't take anything back from it. I learned so much from not just NFL, every sport that I played on all levels.
Wow, that's what's up. Well, Mr. Darrell, we're talking about coaches. So, Mr. Darrell, you're a coach now. What's your coaching style? Let me hear that first. I want to know that. Then we can kind of go into the rest.
Man, I wonder who's watching. My coaching style. Coach D he's known to be pretty intense. He's known to be pretty intense. There's a high level of accountability for the guys that play for me. And I think I've, kind of programmed myself into thinking that I'm preparing these guys for something greater. And so, some of the reasoning for why I might get on the guys for some of the things that T. Cop said, and, I'm coaching athletes in the middle school, high school level. And I'm telling them, you guys are in here telling me you want to make it here and you want to go play D1 and this, that, and the other. And I'll use an example. I said, because Coach so-and-so at such and such university don't care nothing about your feelings. Because I understand the part like T. Cobb was talking about, those coaches are under pressure to perform. So it's a trickle down effect onto the players. So for me, my coaching style is I won't say probably, it's intense, but it's trying to create that level of accountability and responsibility and athletes so that they'll be prepared for the next level. But one thing that I've adopted in my coaching style is that I make it I make it a habit of praising with the same passion that I condemn with. So, when I get on kids and I'm really, really tough on kids, I give them that same energy when they do things well. And I try to make it a habit of doing that. So they'll understand that, it's even killed here. And it's not, what have you done for me lately, but I care about the whole person. So that's one of the things that are key for me. And then I also try to tell the parents and the players, a lot of the times, try not to look at how I say things, just listen to what I'm saying, because the way it looks a lot of the times, I know it's some mamas in the stands like, I would not let my son play for him.
Tell me about one time. Just give me one time, because I know, I've had my mama ready to fight. So
I'm that mom. He coach my baby.
I've had a parent that say, I'm taking my child off this team. Why are you talking to him like that? I've had those experiences where, on the back end, we'd have to have some conversation. And if I could be really real and transparent right here, I tell the mom, listen, I love, and when I love them, I do. I love them. I don't just tell them that for the whatever kind of, fact of the matter, but I do love my kids. And I tell mom, I said, listen, I understand it's tough to watch, and I understand it's tough to deal with. I said, but for a lot of my athletes, the world is not going to care about that little black boy's feelings. And, and so that's the other part too, where I'm really trying to, get them prepared for it. It's going to be some things where it's going to be some doors closed in their face. It's going to be some people that are not going to be nice to them about not getting it done. And so hopefully I'm preparing athletes for those moments in their lives, and they feel like they can make it through a Coach D practice. They can make it through anything.
Well, and this just brings me to, and I know we all watch movies and TV and all that good stuff and the news, but this also brings me to wondering, when is the pressure or the expectations that coaches have, when does it go too far? And that leads to the substance abuse and, all of the other things that some kids, teenagers, they start using steroids and things like that because they want to make sure that they're. When are you guys able to kind of determine that? Because I know that happens sometimes.
Is that directed at me, Mr. Tasha?
Anybody can.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr.
I was going to say, I think, this is just all in relation to what I experienced, and T-Cop can attest to this, football itself is a game of inches. And for whatever reason, if you feel like you're slipping in whatever aspect of the sport, you're going to try to make that up in some shape or form. Now, whether that means, taking pills or performance enhancements or whatever you call it, some people lean to that, and, just by the high level of competition that you're dealing with day in and day out, that can bring a lot of stress. And what T-Cop said is very true in what we see with the hard knock situation and even at the collegiate level. You know what I'm saying? For me, in perspective to this, is that when I was recruited to play, I was recruited to play running back at East Carolina. But I hurt my knee, and I came in, and they had 5 other guys lined up, ready to go. So I told Coach, I was like, look, I said, just put me on the field in any shape or form. I just want to play ball. That's what happened. But, I could have been one of those players like, look, this is going to be the end for me. What am I going to do? Not thinking in the lines of, let's change this direction and try something different. And that's what happened. And thank God it worked out for me. But, Mr. Tosh, go back to answer your question. It's so much of a fine line with performance as athletes and trying to get better and stay above everyone else. That's what it drives to.
Agreed.
You said that you had a knee injury. So how long had you been playing before you got that injury?
I actually tore my ACL and MCL in high school, my senior year in high school. But to it all was that I was already verbally committed to play at East Carolina my junior year. So they honored my scholarship. With my senior year in high school, I probably played 2 football games. Had the knee surgery, and I went in and actually started training and rehabbing with East Carolina as a high school. So I was able to come in and practice with the other redshirt freshmen and not skip a beat. But it was a depressing moment. Not knowing if I was going to make it, if I was going to play, where I'm gonna end up. So it was a lot of moving variables to that experience. But I've always been like a tough player, mentally and physically. And I can tell you this, I know it's all jokes now, but I was more so one of those players that tried to hurt you and be aggressive and intimidate you.
What's his nickname, y'all? What's his nickname?
Killer.
Killer.
It wasn't mental at all. It was a mental strategy that I played. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people now, they see me like, have you seen Killer lately? He's kind of different. He's Antoine now. But all in all, it was just a mental mindset that I had, and it worked for me, throughout my athletic career. And I would say, yeah, I'm totally different now. Total different mindset. But it all grows together. The older you get, the more you understand life and understand, obviously what your value is and what you bring to the table and how people perceive you. So, the funny thing.
I want to ask another question, just in regards to, the injury and things like that. So it was a process. So it was like a healing process of mentally, because from what the story you gave, it sounded like you were headed to the NFL. You got recruited by a college your junior year in high school. It sounded like you were on your way to the big times. And then all of a sudden, before you even start, it's over. Is that kind of how it was?
I would say to a certain degree. I think a lot of things that I remember, and like T-Cop said, I don't regret anything. I had a great athletic career, but he probably don't remember this. I used to when T-Cop was out of Kansas City playing, I used to go and watch him, and very fond of him, very great times. But I remember at that time, after I done played college, went to grad school, and pretty much reinvented myself, because a lot of people know me from the sports arena. And I remember we were having dinner after one of his games, and he mentioned to me, he said, Antoine, he said, Killer, look, man. He said, with all due respect, he said, if anybody should have made it to the NFL that I can choose, he said, it should have been you. He said, just for your athletic ability, your mindset, what you brought to the game, your emotional player. And this is like, what, five or 6 years after I walked off the field. But knowing that and coming from him, which obviously I respect T-Cop and I love him like a brother, that kind of sat with me until this day. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of stuff that I bring to the table, it doesn't matter what variable I'm in. It can be sports, it can be business, it can be health. Whatever you do, I do it at 100, 100 miles per hour, never stop. So I would say, yeah, it did. It weighed on me. But, obviously the Lord has different blessings in life. And, obviously now I wouldn't change anything. But I wanted to mention that, obviously before we got off the air of that, but that meant a lot coming from him in that arena. You know what I'm saying? So it was good.
That's cool.
Wow. I mean,
That's
It was
cool.
dope. You don't remember that, but I remember that, player.
That's cool.
that's love right there. I love
Yeah,
it. That's deep.
that is.
That's
Mr.
deep.
Tasha.
All right, go.
Yeah.
I gotta take a
No,
deep
no.
breath. So,
Yeah.
Mr. Cobb, how did it when you guys played together? So you guys played in high school or just college? Give me the connection there.
We played college together.
Okay.
And when I first got to East Carolina, when I saw him, for one, he was probably one of the strongest guy, pound for pound, he was the strongest guy on the team, hands down. He was, how much you, about 208? He was weighing about how much
Yeah,
you weigh?
about 210, yeah.
About two, but he could bench press the world. He could squat the world. He was just strong as all get out. He was the strongest person probably I ever seen in my life coming out of high school. And then his athletic ability, so he was to me, he was the prime athlete. You want to find an athlete, look at Killer. That was the athlete that if you're trying to look at the prototype, to me, that was the prototype athlete. He was strong, physical, he could run, athletic. He was the prototype athlete to me. That's what I seen. So that's why I first met Killer. But one thing that he has, and one thing I tell people, all athletes have, they have that other switch to them. Like you may see guys, especially when they play Division I basketball or Division football, whatever it is, doesn't matter, whatever sport it is. If you see a guy that play at that level, he has another switch. I don't care what he looked like in public. He may be one of the nicest guys that keep a smile on his face all the time. If you're going to play at that level, you got to have another switch.
Yeah, that's right.
Mentally, you got to be able to go into something and turn that switch on, and you become a total different person. And if you don't have that switch, you're not going to make it to the higher levels. You're not going to make it. So when Killer talked about how he had that switch, and he was Killer for real. He was Killer, but he had that switch, but that goes for a lot of other athletes that's trying to make it to that next level. You gotta have that switch. I mean, you can be a nice guy off the field or off the court, but once you get on the court, it gotta change. Mentally, you have to change.
We call it that dog. Gotta have that dog in it.
So wait a minute. So you get dog cuss, and you gotta have that dog in you.
Gotta have that dog in it.
Okay.
So where does the balance come from in this? Because you hi and then that's just
DMX.
When do you turn it off? Because I know sometimes you sitting there still hype and you like, oh God, I'm getting away, and because I've seen guys on the basketball court and they cussing I'm thinking they're about to fight. I'm ready to leave, and then they dapping each other up, and I'm like, well, what was that all about? Why can't y'all just get along? If we're gonna be friends, be friends. So how you balance that thing, and how does everybody know when you I don't really mean it. I'm just saying it just because. How does that work? I'm not the athlete.
It's the code.
I think it's an underlying, this is like a code in the athletic world or the competition world where it's what we call between the lines. And so when you step in, they use that in football, they're using them in basketball. When you step in between the lines and you have a different colored jersey on that I do or what have you, I used to joke with the kids in practice all the time. Hey, look, I love my grandma. I really do. I love her with all my heart. But if she get out here and she on the other side, she gonna get this work. And, that's just the way. That's the way.
Not grandma.
That's the way it is. That's just the way. Hey, ask the other guys. Ask the other guys.
That's the truth.
But I know now. Look, I'm gonna be honest now, Mr. Darrell. I do watch TV. Now, you got a great point. But I saw last football season when the guy's helmet came off and he hit him upside the head with the helmet. What line was that?
Well,
and then
it's just,
they fight all the time on the basketball NBA. I see them throw down. I'm like, wow, they can swing fast. So what happens there?
it's competition. It's competition, and it may be a part of the reason why we're on this gravity talk. It's some mental health there too.
Yeah.
Some mental health
Definitely.
there too.
You said grandma can get it. I said, oh Lord.
Now, Mr. Antoine, I know you got the name Killer. So have you had an encounter where someone didn't take it right?
Of course. Yeah, of course. Like I said, I'm a totally different person now. And, from day one, when I started playing football, that's just how I was taught and how I operated. So being a defensive player, defensive mindset, I could not let you score. That was just period. And every like Mr. Dad was saying, if you had a different jersey on, that means I gotta hurt you in some shape or form. My hard-nosed spirit, playing undersized, I would say, with as a linebacker at East Carolina. But you could be the biggest of the big or smallest of the small. You can get this work. And the ironic thing about it is it switches over to my business mentality now. But obviously not in the killer mentality, but you're gonna get this work. We're gonna work you, okay? I don't care what we're doing. We'll have services, construction, all of that plays into the person that I am now. Sports can teach you so many different valuable lessons in life. It's a no-brainer. Every kid that plays, they're going to pick up something. They're going to hear something from a coach, a player, a teammate that's going to stick with them the rest of their life. And it's a given. I know it works for me. So
Definitely.
yeah.
I think that's essential. So is that something that you transition into when you say that you use it in the business? What would you say would be one of the key elements of your connection with sports and how you transition that? I know you said killer and you're gonna get it, but what is it? Is it like a drive or competitiveness? How is that?
Oh, absolutely. It's got to be hands down the work ethic. When I was in college, I think my junior year, I sat down with my position coach. And I said, look, shoot it to me straight. I said, you think I'm good enough to make it to the league? He sat me down. He was like, look, I'm going to keep it 100 with you. I know what he said back then, but now we say we're going to keep it 100. He's a great college player. If you continue to play at this level and it doesn't incline, he said you probably won't have a chance to play next level. So again, obviously a lot of emotions is running through, right? I've been playing sports all my life. Who is here to tell me what I can do, who I can't do, right? But the biggest thing I took from that meeting was I need to diversify. I need to go ahead and start thinking of a life where I can create another Antoine Yelverton. So what happened? Finished undergraduate school, went to grad school, got an MBA, and the same hustle mentality that I took from the field spilled over to the business world. So it's like, okay, you may know more than me, books wise or whatever, you may have more resources than me, but you will not outwork me. And that's the token I've been playing, since now. So again, there's so many variables that I take from on the field, take it off the field, and applies to everyday life.
I think that's really essential. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So much passion. I'm out of here. I can't stop.
So with the pandemic going on, and not being able to watch sports, right? So let's shift gears and talk about that a little bit. What do y'all think about that, Mr. Darrell? How does it feel that it's Monday night? So I know we ain't got no Monday night football, but I was like, hey, something just as good. Right.
7 p.m. prime time. We're right here. I think. Well, it's been tough not having sports. For me, a basketball guy, TBT was back this weekend's $1 million basketball tournament. They called the TBT basketball tournament. And if you saw me yesterday, I was watching intently like it was the NBA Finals because we just hadn't had any live sports on. So it's been tough. I've been trying to use these opportunities. They're replaying a lot of old games. I don't know if the ECU guys but I've been watching a lot of Clemson football games on TV the last couple weekends, and just trying to get my son to watch some of the old basketball games and just use those for educational purposes. But it was always cool, like after a work day like today, whatever you have going on at work, being able to come home and watch a Monday night football game or a basketball game just to take your mind away from the daily stresses of life. Basketball is and has always been my safe place where I could go there and not have to worry about too many other things that's going on in my life. And when I'm either playing basketball, coaching basketball, or watching basketball, it gives me the opportunity to somewhat escape from all the other things that we have going on in life. So I've definitely missed that getaway, and I'm excited about, the NBA possibly coming back at the end of the month.
Yeah.
Okay. So T-Cop, what about you? You miss sports? How you managing?
I'm missing it, but I'm so busy right now, just being occupied with other things. So I never get a chance to watch TV anyway. But when I do watch TV, I'm watching either Family Feud or something like that, some type of game show. But I don't really watch TV too much. I don't get a chance to. But I'm missing it. As long as football can get played, I'm okay.
Okay.
One question. So you said you're busy. So wait, you have a sports academy.
Mm-hmm.
So are you guys socially distancing?
All the time.
Oh, okay. I'm just checking.
I'm trying to catch him up. You're trying to hem him up.
I'm just checking in. I don't want to know what you're doing. Don't tell me.
All the time.
I'm sorry, Vicky. I didn't mean to interrupt. You was gonna say something.
Oh no, you're fine. I was just gonna ask Mr. Yelverton. I don't think he's been missing sports, but I'm gonna let him speak for himself.
Same as T-Cup is like, since the pandemic hit, we've been so busy. It's just nonstop, on the go. But the flip side to it is obviously it's not football season. I would say it hasn't really sank in yet with me, but if this football season, I think we're gonna have some problems. Yeah. So they haven't really hit me yet. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I agree.
Because if it was football season, I always get to talk on Sunday and Monday and Thursday. He'd be like, "Don't bother me. Don't talk to me. Now go ahead and eat. I'm gonna go and bring your food, and I'm in the basement, and that's it." And I'd be like, "Okay." So we've been able to get a little bit more of his attention since sports season, is not televised.
Yeah, but I've been we've been taking it out on Chase and Ashton. I would say that's a great positive out of this all, is spending quality time with them, and actually it's to train them. Like it's been great. It's been great.
Okay. So you're actually getting the opportunity to train your own kids.
Yes. Absolutely.
Wow. Now that's so you're gonna have junior killers.
But now they got a different mindset. You know what I'm saying? That dog is hard to breed. I would say the dog is hard to breed. You know what I'm saying? Man. Everything is not perfect. You just got to roll with it. Got that. I just want them to have that hunger. I said they can play whatever sports. They can play a violin. All I care, as long as they have that passion and that drive for it, everything else will fall into play. Now, I would prefer they played football, though. I'm going to throw that in.
My poor babies.
How about you, Mr. Darrell? You training your kids too, right? I think.
Yeah. Yes,
I've seen the footage.
Yeah, we have. I have a group of guys here. We live in Apex, and so my son and a couple of his buddies that live near us, we go to a local park nearby. So it's outside, and you kind of got the ability for air to get away from. We're not all taking the same air in, and they bring their own equipment. They both have regular ball, heavy ball, and other equipments that we use. And it's about 4 days a week. And after the sun goes down, it starts getting a little cooler. And they're getting it the old way. Like Mr. Antoine said, it's kind of hard to find that dog. And in some of the kids these days, because they've kind of lived this this kind of, I won't say coddle, but it's been kind of easy for a lot of the kids nowadays, it seems, because I think amongst us, everybody on this panel, I give a lot of credit to a generation of great parents. I think what has happened to us is that we've had some hardships coming up in life. And so we've created this thing where we want our kids to have a little bit better opportunity than what we had growing up. And so with that saying, they get to practice on, turf fields, wherever they may be practicing, or in a 72-degree air-conditioned gym. And so when we get out here on this concrete, and like, you ought to see them smacking bugs when we're working out, because they're not used to that. And we are spraying off on their wrist and on their neck because they're not used to being outside practicing basketball. So it's been a different experience for them, but hopefully something that'll add a little grit and give them to bear down a little bit more and kind of be a junior killer, so to speak, on the basketball court.
So I like that. So I got a question though. So guys, with everything that's going on and the uncertainties of this pandemic, I know you're training them up and everything like that, but we be honest, it doesn't look like we're gonna have any type of solution for a while. And how you got? Because I'm tell you one thing, and I'm not being okay. I'm just gonna say it and let that be it. A lot of guys don't wear masks, so they just don't want to wear them. And with the kids and the boys and everybody playing these sports, there's a risk involved. How do you guys manage that, knowing that it's your kid? How does that work? Anybody?
I know.
And they don't be wearing no masks. I be out there at the practices, and I be taking names and numbers.
I know.
Go ahead,
I know for us, hand sanitizer is number one. No matter where we go at, whether if we're on the football field, whether we're in the weight room, or whether we're on the basketball court doing individual training, we have hand sanitizer everywhere, and we just take random breaks and get hand sanitizer breaks. Also, we have these. Get in the picture.
Okay.
The face mask.
That's pretty slick right there. Okay.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So we have things that the kids can wear. Of course, when it's outside, it's a little tougher, because especially when it's 90-some degrees and you having 7-on-7 practice, they're about to die out there because they can't breathe with the mask on.
Yep.
But we try to do the best we can when it comes to staying social distance, hand sanitizer, face mask. We try to do our part.
Yeah, and same here. Like with my workout group, everybody have their own basketball, actually 2 basketballs, a heavy basketball and a regular basketball, hand sanitizer, wipes as well. And it's no high fives or anything. It's more elbow bumps, fist bumps if necessary. They stretch and do all the other things kind of in their own little silo there. I mean, of course, there's going to be an opportunity where they're going to interact with one another, but as much as we can mitigate it, we do. And we just haven't gotten to the place yet because on the list, basketball is one of those high-risk activities because it's indoors as far as being able to play. There are some people that are getting back to playing a little bit in some other states, but for us, especially at Garner Road, with the development kids and the younger kids, we just hadn't got back to playing. So it's more, you can go to workouts, do individual workouts, one-on-ones, or if you're in a group, you got to have your own ball, and you limit the interaction of high fives and all that kind of stuff and we try to make them cognizant about touching their face and all those things, when they go home and stuff.
Now, with the numbers increasing and things rising, you guys feel like you may have to stop what you're doing now? Just for safety reasons?
You don't know. You don't know. If it gets to that point to where we have to really just stop doing everything altogether, then that's something we're very freely and open to do, so it just all depends. If that's something we have to do, we'll do it.
And for some of the parks and recreation programs, from a basketball standpoint, if you have to stop, they're going to make you stop because they'll take the baskets down or they'll put bricks on the basket and you won't be able to go to the park. I was in Durham a couple of weeks ago and looking for places to, work out, and there was no rims on the backboards. They've taken them down. So when you have to stop, that they'll stop it.
Yeah.
Wow. So, with the pandemic, it's like, okay, because we're getting ready to cross over to also some more current events. But just before we close out talking about the pandemic situation, what are you all doing to stay well and stay strong? Because all of you all have a tie to the youth. And Mr. Darrell, his coaching role, T. Cop with his sports academy, Antoine and his training role and father role with our kids. You know, what are you all doing to maintain? Because you all got to be strong first so that you can then be strong for the youth. So let's talk about that a little bit. What are your thoughts? God, what do you think?
Well, with me, I try to work out every day, regardless of what it is, what day it is. I get up early in the morning. I go work out. Just trying to keep my mind right and start trying to eat better. You know, because my whole thing is like of course, you never want to get COVID. You never want to get it. But in my thought process and my household, we're going to continue to work out every day and start eating better. So just in case if we do end up getting it, we have good lung capacity and, you know, we're able to beat it, able to get it off compared to just not doing anything, you know, just
Right.
sitting around the house, eating, just relaxing the whole entire time. You know, so we're preparing our bodies just in case something happens, the worst case scenario happens, you know, we'll be well off to fight it off.
And that's a good point because, like you said, it's a mentality thing. I think a lot of people are now dealing with depression, anxiety, you know, all those ailments. It's kind of like a drug, like, you know, all the side effects if you take the drug. And it's kind of like if you get COVID, then you know, you don't really know what can happen per se. But if you don't and you sit in the house and you stay stationary, that's not good either, you know.
Mhm.
So like you said, you want to kind of keep things going, keep the blood flowing, keep active, and
Mhm.
also it helps with that mentality, you know, with the mental piece of all of it. What do you think, Mr. Darrell?
In my role as a coach, definitely miss my guys. I miss the kids. We went about 8 to 10 weeks strong doing Zoom calls on Saturday mornings, and where we created a group text in which workouts were sent to that group text every day by one of the other parents that has a CrossFit training facility in Raleigh. So she sent out workouts, and we'd also prescribed some other things for them to do. And then it was kind of accountability check-in on Saturday mornings on Zoom calls. And so we did that for about 2 months, where I also incorporated us reading a book together as a team. So I used it as an opportunity for us to do some education stuff beyond basketball a little bit. And it was a book, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teenagers. And so had those guys, we broke it up into about 4 weeks where it was reading and discussion. Because what we're noticing is that the kids are really suffering from being socially detached, you know, from one another. And it was amazing because they would get on the call and they would talk, and I made everybody talk so they couldn't just be on the call. And at the end, we would do what we call closeout. And when we go to closeout, they would say, "Hey guys, make sure you be safe. Can't wait to see y'all in the gym again." And they were like, "And I love you guys." And you know, I was like, "Wow," you know. And these kids are, you know, really missing one another, and I definitely really miss them. And so I'm gonna be quiet here because this is the part where the older I get, the more emotional I get. So I'm
Come
gonna
on, give
go
it
ahead
to
and
him,
pass the
Mr.
Mr.
Darrell, right
I'm gonna
there.
pass
That
to Mr.
cry,
Antoine. Yeah, you
cry
can
right
probably hear it. You can hear that little lump coming. So I'm gonna go ahead and let Mr. Antoine have it because I really miss my guys. I really do.
Let it out, Mr. Darrell. It's okay.
All right.
Safe,
That's what's up.
safe, come on, friends. So thank you, Mr. Darrell, for sharing and being transparent. Mr. Yelverton, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts of staying COVID proof would be the definitely the exercise. You know, I've taken up cycling in the midst of all this, and you know, I love it. You know what I'm saying? I've always liked working out, lifting, but the cycling has really changed the game for me, I would say. But I think, you know, definitely balance to it all makes sense. And what T-Cop was saying, you know, getting into that moment, that routine every day of sweating, exercising, I think it will definitely play a huge part to this all for everybody. Obviously, staying clean, washing your hands with the mask and everything, staying sanitized, but a level of exercising and obviously what you eat is very important.
But what about like as far as the mental piece of it? Because and I appreciate you sharing the physical aspect and the safety aspect of what we can do, but mentally, so that you're strong for you, what do you need to do to maintain?
I think if with me, obviously people that know me, exercise is very important in my life, and I think with the cycling component in it now, it gives me a time to release and get away. I won't necessarily say get away from the madness, but allow me some me time to relax. I know it doesn't make sense. You're cycling for 2 or 3 hours and you're saying you're relaxed, but when you get into that zone, everything else releases from your body. It's more mental. It's the music that you're listening to. Sometimes I be riding for so long, I don't even know where I'm at. I just like, okay, boom, I'm in my zone. So that plays a huge part with what I have going on. So yeah.
Okay.
Miss Vicky, he got to be on
Look, guys, Vicky's trying to front like she understands it so well. Yeah, she does.
Listen,
I do.
You gotta play that part.
I do.
Look, now you ain't supposed to put all that on the screen. You know what I'm saying?
I got you back. I do. I understand. It's very important. The cycling takes you to a whole nother place. I can appreciate that. I got you.
What were you gonna say, Mr. Darrell?
Yeah, he got to be lost to something because I ain't drove 50 miles all week and he'll ride that bike 50 miles in a day. I ain't put 50 miles in that car in a month.
You ain't normal, y'all. You ain't normal.
It's all good, man. It's all good.
Well, thank y'all for sharing. So as we shift gears, I think when we talk about the current event, share with us your thoughts on that. There has been some elevated racial injustice going on, and some childhood, racism and all that good stuff. Share with us your thoughts on that, and how has that impacted you? I know it's impacted a lot of us mentally. But share with us, if you don't mind, how has that impacted you? Go ahead, Mr. Darrell.
Oh, okay. I didn't want to jump in. I think you guys are determined to make me cry today, but it's no, it's been tough. Obviously, being Black in America, it's a everyday struggle. And I was having a conversation with my guys riding home from a workout, and I'll just give you a quick story. And we were riding home from a workout, and I live in Apex, North Carolina, and I'll just leave it at that. But I don't speed anywhere through this town. I don't do a mile over the speed limit in this town in fear of being pulled over by the cops. And I'll just be plain and honest about it. And so we were dropping one of the kids off, and the car behind me was just, I guess I was going too slow, and they were right up on me. And so the kid said, "Why were they all up on you, Coach D?" And I was like, "Probably because I was going too slow." And when I went by, choice look was given to me or what have you. And in my mind, the young lady that probably doesn't experience life the way that I do, I wish that I could have had a moment to pull her over and have a conversation with her, because she don't understand why I drive slow through Apex, right? And what I'm fearful of, that being 7 miles over the speed limit, that could get me pulled over for that, and it could possibly go to something else. So when you see these kind of things, and when you see the police pass you and your heart skips a beat, like those are real things. Those are definitely real things for Black men in this country. And I experience it every day. And then for it to be just played in the media day in and day out, it's just been really tough with, the videos that surface, and, literally, witnessing lynchings right on your cell phone or on your tablet or whatever you may have it. So It's been tough as a coach because I have to have this fine line between being a coach and being a parent. And, you know, I don't want to step on any other parents' toes about that discussion with the kids, but we try to have a soft conversation about it without me impressing any kind of my feelings on them, but making sure they're aware. And one thing I found out is that they are very aware. And because they're not watching the nightly news, right? It doesn't mean they're not seeing this and they're not getting it, but those ads and those things that they see on TikTok and whatever comes on for 35 seconds on Instagram, whatever, they're getting this information. So we have to keep a check on our kids and make sure we're having conversations about how they feel about these things, because it's very, very saddening and disheartening. But I am encouraged about some of the things that are taking place in the country right now and some of the people that are standing for social injustice and trying to make a difference. So I'm proud of that.
Wow. Thank you, Mr. Dare, for sharing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What do you think, T-Cop?
I think the biggest thing is for adults, I think is educating our children.
Mm-hmm.
I think for the most part, as adults, we kind of understand if we get stopped by the police. We kind of understand certain things you don't need to say, certain things you don't need to do. Even if you're not stopped by police, even if you get approached by somebody that's Caucasian and maybe racist, you know, I think we know how to handle ourselves a little better than our children do. So, like my son got stopped the other day going 71 to 55, which I don't know what he was doing.
Wow.
But thank you. But he got stopped the other day, and first thing he did was give us a call, and so we really had to talk him through what not to do.
Wow.
You know, listen, T, you make sure you tell this police officer everything that you're about to do. You keep your hands present. And this is when the police officer was walking towards him. You know, so it's little things like that you really have to really educate our kids on when it comes to what do you do once you get stopped. You know, you obey. It's always yes, sir, no, sir. You don't want to give any type of anything that put a police officer at unease, whether he's trying to harm somebody or whether he's afraid, just like we're afraid. You know, so you really just know the reason. And then when it comes to maybe a different race that may have some type of racial profiling in it, I'll give you a prime example. In my neighborhood, my oldest son, you know, he went jogging in the neighborhood, you know, and our neighborhood is it's spread out. So it's a bigger area. And I really want to say it's about 3 people in our neighborhood that's my complexion. And so when he started jogging on the other side of the neighborhood, you know, a lady rode up behind him like, what are you doing in this neighborhood? What are you doing? Where are you jogging? Where are you going? You know, and so those questions, he stays in this neighborhood, you know, but I get it. I mean, I don't get it, but, you know, he has a head full of dreads. He's a black kid jogging in a predominantly white neighborhood, you know, so these are things that we just got to educate our kids on how to react to these things, you know, and not to get hot-headed about it, you know, because it really can escalate to something else. So it's just really educating our children on how to handle all types of situations.
Wow.
I think so, Mr. Antoine, you ride a bike for several miles at the time, and there's been a heightened demonstration of racism and you know, hate crimes and things of that nature. So you're on roads and highways, I would propose. Is there anything ever that goes on in your mind about, like, is somebody gonna try to run me off the road or try to hit me? You know, do you ever think about that? That has ever crossed your mind like that? Because people are thinking in this direction. You know, I had someone that just pulled over in front of me on the highway and made sure he pointed to his hat, you know, to let me know what his views were. So how do you feel about being out there in that environment?
Of course, the climate that we're in now, it definitely run across my mind. And the time that I did the Century Ride, which is 100 miles in one day, the halfway point, I actually ran across my dad. And he was like, look, man, you need to tell somebody if you're trying to do all this and, you know, tell us what you got going on. Rightfully so. And my response to him was, you know, with racism and everything that's going on now, for me personally, I refuse to live in fear because, you know, I think there's obviously that's what the devil wants, but it ain't a black man in America now that can say they never experienced a racial situation. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like now I think of it as being like a fed up moment, like enough is enough. Obviously, with Mr. Darrell's situation, Teacup, your son, that's just, you know, this it's a presence of we're just tired. I would say this is my opinion. Going back to my situation, along with Roddy, I would say probably for the first week or two, it did bother me, but now it doesn't as much. But I'm not saying that I'm not living in fear or, you know, they can do something, I'm gonna do something to them. That's not my mentality. I'm like, okay, you know, it can happen, but it's my mentality is totally different now. And, you know, with all the variables going back to black men in America and what we're experiencing now, pulled over by cops, my mentality, I'm just sick and tired of it. You know what I'm saying? And the biggest component to it all is my kids, because now that's a point in life where I have something more valuable than my life is my kids' life. So, Lord willing, I hope I never have to experience anything that's racially motivated that's directed towards them. Because like T. Cop said, we can handle it. It is what it is. Call it for what it is. You know, that's how you move. That's how you move. But my blessings, my faith outweighs me dealing with you on that. Because I always say, man, who has time to be racist? With all the stuff going on, middle of COVID, pandemic, you know, everything that's going on, who has time to do all that? But obviously people, they make time for it, but it's a game changer. If your kids come into play, you have to coach them. You have to tell them, yo, this is what this is about. This is what's going on. If your kids are anyway like Ashton, every answer you give, he's going to ask 20 questions. They get it. They know what's up. They know what time it is. But the struggling part for me is, again, my boys and grooming them to what the world is made up of. Everybody is not for you in this world. Unfortunately, that's what we live in. And that's just a proof to all what's going on there.
Just to kind of ask this question, and it's gonna seem a little crazy, but in athletes, it's kind of an idea or a notion that, you know, black males play sports and that's the way that they become successful and they come to the top. But then we see situations where if they get in trouble, it looks like their sentences is heightened.
Right.
Versus, how do you guys feel about that? How does that make you feel when you see things like that happening within the professional area or just, you know, just watching it?
Well, you know, growing up in times where you either had to, you know, get it on the block or have a wicked jump shot, right? You try to change the stigma of that, right? And you know, I tell my son a lot of times it's like an ongoing joke. If it's a day that he doesn't feel like working out or whatever the case may be, I say, hey man, it's okay with being an engineer too. That's a pretty good job as well, you know. And so, because I just don't want him to be cast into, even though I push sports and I'm behind him in his basketball, and you got to work every day and you got to work in 10,000 hours. It takes 10,000 hours. You know, we having these conversations, and but I just don't want him to, you know, be placed in that box where, you know, he feel like he has to make it in sports. And I think that's where a lot of the pressure and the anxiety and athletes that find themselves in those situations where they're getting in some kind of contact with the law, some kind of criminal issues going on, where like one of the gentlemen said earlier, not really having a backup plan puts a lot more pressure on you to perform at a certain level. So how you react to that when you're not doing well or when you get cut or when things don't go your way, I think it probably puts out a little bit more negative energy for those athletes. And then when they're getting into that trouble, obviously it's unfair, and we know how unjust or biased the criminal justice system has been in this country. When you do get in some trouble, you're not oftentimes judged by a jury of your peers. You've seen the documentaries, you've seen the things where gentlemen are going to court, and when you look at the jury, no one in the jury looks like them, and of course things don't come out too well for them. So I think what's important for our young Black boys and our young Black girls too is that we educate them on getting themselves in the best possible situation for themselves with sports, without sports, and just be mindful of that things aren't fair. And the old adage of working twice as hard to be just as good, it's still out here, and then you have to work twice as hard probably not to get in trouble, because they're going to punish you 10 times what they would someone else that doesn't look like you. Not that you have to know that. You cannot combat that if you don't know that. So the children have got to know that.
Wow.
Did anybody else want to respond? You look like it's on your tip of your tongue, Mr. Antoine.
But T-Cop want to get in too.
But I feel like on my side of things is I feel like we need to, as a culture, really allow our kids that's growing up in your neighborhoods to see somebody of their color that's being successful outside of sports, and for me, it's I always get invited back to talk because to speak to different age groups, because I played sports, I made it to the NFL, so I get a lot of that. But on my end, like, I'm trying to get guys like Killer. Like I said, we already talked about it before. We just got to get a date like Killer to come back and talk to the kids that I deal with, because I want them to see somebody of their color, be successful other than something in sports, because we're always around sports. When you come here, it's sports. So of course, education as well, but they need to see somebody that looks like them, that is successful in something else outside of sports, whether it's basketball or football. And growing up in the hood, I mean, that's there. Basketball, football, whether you want to be a rapper or whatever it is. I'm not knocking any of those things, because that's the avenue I took. But I also understand that it's more to life than just sports, and so that's why I feel like we got to bring in people that's been successful, that looks like us, and present it to the kids. Because if you never seen it before, how do you know it's there if you never seen it? Right. At a young age, you may not have that faith like you may have when you get older. But when you're young, if you never see it, I'll give you a prime example. My grandmother, when I was growing up, this lady, I used to love her with all my heart. She used to say, "Boy, you need to put that football down, because it ain't never gonna put food on your table." That's what she used to tell me. Now, that could have really discouraged me, and I really could have put it down and moved on to something else. But it motivated me, and I don't take it out. I don't blame my grandmother for saying it. She just never seen a professional athlete before. So if you never seen it, how do you know it really can happen? And so it's the same thing when it comes to our youth. Just putting people in front of them that's successful in different fields, so they can see, what, I can be this. I can be a business owner. I can. And so that's why I think it's really important to get people like yourself, Miss Natasha, Killer, getting y'all in front of people, and giving your testimony about what you've been through to make it, because they also got to understand that anything that you're willing to work for, it's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy, and they got to understand the trials and tribulations that everybody went through to get to where they're at. But it's achievable. But you got to be able to have some staying power, and you got to be able to get on your knees and pray about some stuff, in order to achieve these things. So I just feel like having people like yourselves that's outside of the sports realm is very important. So the kids can see, and the girls can see, and the boys can see.
Thank you so much for sharing. Mr. Antoine, did you have something?
No, I was going to say I was going to definitely thank T-Cop for the kind words, but I think obviously a lot of similarities on what people are exposed to and what they're used to growing up. you know, with me coming from humble beginnings and Snow Hill, from a trailer park, dirt road, humble beginnings. But now in life, people, they assume I play sports, a professional sport, for whatever reason. And like T-Cop said, you see successful people in different avenues in life. That's what the kids need to be exposed to now. It's unfortunate and fortunate at the same time, but we got to keep pushing and striving for that. And like I always tell people, I got get a taste of success. You'll never forget it the rest of your life. You know what I'm saying? You'll keep craving it. And that's how I operate. So I think if the kids can definitely be exposed to it, it will play a huge advantage to them. I know it did for me. Different coaches and playing with different players throughout life and going back to the essence of reinventing myself because, I just had to come up with a plan B when sports wasn't an option for me anymore. And, kids need to think in that realm or that degree and manner of, what's next for you in life? When this chapter closed, what's next? And you become successful at it and keep pushing.
Way past time now at this point. So
okay.
We're gonna need a part 3. We're gonna need a part 3.
I think we're gonna need part 3 because y'all, Mr. Darryl, you even had me up in the throat like that. But
I was ready for it. I wanted to.
I know. Yes. So listen, guys, we're gonna bring things full circle, and our full circle moment is for you to give that last thought that you would like to leave everybody with. And I think that right now we're talking about Plan B. And it sounds like, the message right now is to make sure that you have a Plan B. And I think that based off of you guys' conversation and your stories, you're living in your Plan B right now. And so I want you to kind of just in a few words or so, just kind of leave us with the last thing, just to kind of sum up how you feel and just giving a message to our young folks that are tuned in right now that may be watching now or may check it out later. What would you say to them? I'm going to start with Mr.
Darryl. For me, I would say preparedness. I really pride myself in being prepared. Like I said, living in the Plan B or, and for me as a 40-year-old, I'm still evolving. It's still a lot of things that I want to do in life, and a lot of things that I would love to accomplish. And for athletes who are, young athletes that turn into, older athletes, you become very, very regimented. And I think one of the biggest things that you learn from playing sports is preparing or preparedness. And I think if kids really lean on preparing and being prepared, I think they'll go in the direction, whichever one they choose, and be successful at whatever they choose to be successful in. So preparedness is what I'm going to leave everyone with.
Thank you, Mr. Darryl. Thank you, Mr. Antoine.
For me, I would say 2 things. You said it's directed towards the youth. I would say invest in yourself. Obviously, you're always going to be your toughest critic, or you should be, and have the mentality where if nobody will do it, you have to do it. And the second thing is one thing that I have to give props to probably for the last 10 years of my life: invest in your spiritual life. Come a point in time where I've experienced where you can't control everything. There's external factors that's going to work against you. So you got to leave it up to the higher being to take care of it for you. By having said that, you got to invest in him like he's going to invest in you. So I think that's definitely key to what I got going in life and what future will come down the road for.
All right. Deacon,
Deacon. T-Cobb has some technical difficulties.
Yeah, I think he's trying to chime back in. If he's able to rejoin, we can let him share.
Mhm.
But I would just say, again, I appreciate you guys joining us tonight on this panel. As we mentioned, the first one, Gravity Talks Sports Part 1, we covered a lot of information and you all were able to share your stories. And then we definitely felt we had to have a part 2, which brings us to tonight. And we appreciate you all being transparent again. I think a lot of the people, a lot of the community wanted to hear how real y'all were going to be tonight and sharing and being transparent of, what are those intimate mental health moments that you all experienced as athletes, as coaches, as men, and what do you do to kind of navigate and work your way through that? Because it's inevitable. Mental wellness is every day, just like physical wellness should be every day. And so I appreciate you sharing how you day in and day out dig deep and be able to keep pushing. Because, not only do your kids rely on you, but you have spouses, your wives depend on you, other family members, other friends, the companies that you work with and work for depend on you. And so I appreciate you all, keeping yourselves as well as you can and knowing that you can lean on each other so that you can continue to be a resource for us and for the community. So that's all I wanted to share. And I wanted to also just kind of chime in and offer for our streaming family that's watching that, again, there's a suicide prevention hotline. If there's a need that, you're having any thoughts or any ideation about suicide, that you definitely want to reach out to the suicide prevention hotline number, which is 1-800-273-8255. Again, that's 1-800-273-8255. And then for our local streaming family, Alliance Health Care is our managed care organization that supports the Wake County, Durham County, Cumberland, and Johnston County areas. And you can reach their access line 24 hours a day if you need any navigation on mental health supports. And their number is 1-800-510-9132. Again, that's 1-800-510-9132. And that's all I have on my part. Thank you, Ms. Lewis.
I just don't want to wrap things up today. It's been an awesome discussion, and what I've gathered today, with just listening to the different things, is the significance of planning and preparing. But not only that, having a higher power to connect to. And I think those things have been very, very significant in our conversations today. But I want to say, Mr. Darrell, thank you for being that coach to explain the point of view of coaching and where you're coming from. Because I'm gonna tell you, I didn't know what to think about y'all. Y'all look mad all the time and everything. So thank you for letting us know, because it touched my heart. You did when you said, I miss my kids. I love them. I miss them. Because, and that lets me know that there are some good positive males that are out here that are impacting our children. And not only that, but also Mr. Yelverson, I am so glad that you said now you get the opportunity to do that direct training with your boys, and you have that opportunity, because if we weren't in everything and doing everything, guess what? We wouldn't have that time to have that personal connection where when there's something that's coming on the screen, you as a parent are able to directly sit your child down and say, this is what it is, versus they're hearing it at school from a teacher or anybody else. So right. I don't think the pandemic is all that bad. It's giving us an opportunity for growth and development. But not only that, just to kind of have this time to come together and really be able to talk. So I definitely want to thank all of you all for tuning in. I think this has been an awesome, awesome, awesome session. And, I think that, all of us that are tuning in right now, we've got to give these athletes just a little bit of breathing space and air. We put a lot of pressure on them to compete, and we have high expectations, which causes them to have to deal with mental health issues. So we need to chill out a little bit too, as fans. So definitely, we've all had some time off. We can't wait to get back, but we're not going to rush it. But thank you guys once again for tuning in, and look forward to episode part 3 for sports and mental health. And we will see you guys on next Monday at 7 p.m. Have a great one, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks
Good
for having me.
night. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks.